Hey everyone, welcome to a winning edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Palais, Josh Palais, Mario Heron. That's right, winning. Chargers win 28-24. They get on the good side of things. They finally got in the win column. It's been a long time since we felt a win as a Charger fan in a game that actually meant something. And guys, this game meant a lot. Josh, going to you first. As far as what do you take away from this Charger game, and what do you take away from the Vikings?
This was a must-win game. We said it going into it. What I take away from the Vikings was the movie Dumb and Dumber. It was incredible to watch. It was actually amazing to watch at the end. Who could mess it up worse? Who could do it last? And it was the Vikings who did it last. Them not clocking the ball and gathering their thoughts and breathing, and then just completely screwing up and letting Kenneth Murray get an interception was the icing on the cake. But the Chargers did everything they could to screw it up.
Yeah, it was a thing of like, all right, your turn to screw it up. Your turn to charge it. And like, no, it's your turn to Viking it. And you're like, no, it's charging. I Viking it. Like it was like an argument going back and forth for that game. Fantastic game. It was a fun game the whole time. A little pissy over it didn't hit, but hey, that's a story for a different day. It was exciting. There's things that obviously we liked a lot from the Chargers. There's obviously some things we didn't like. At the end of the day, they got the dub. Like you said, Josh, that handling of the last minute and a half by the Vikings was gorgeous. It was so funny to me. Like it was beautiful. It's like when someone played Madden for the first time and they don't know about the clock runoff when you press Y a couple times and go speed up, and then you like lose it and you're like, oh my god, why did I lose? Like because time already marks off. That's what Kevin O'Connell was doing. He's playing Madden for the first time, didn't know what he was doing. So it's exciting stuff. Chargers win. Go Bolts go. And now we're feeling good. Also, don't feel as bad for the week 1 loss. Dolphins look really, really good.
Dolphins do look really, really good. We'll get more into that game because that does obviously affect what happened inside the division with the Denver Broncos. But look, let's be honest here. We talked about this game going in, meaning Vikings Chargers, and how similar they were. And basically, you could say what we were saying about the Chargers, about the Vikings, and vice versa. These guys were as mirror image of anything I've ever seen. I mean, when the Vikings blew it, it felt like that's what the Chargers have done. We know what that feeling is like. I said to Josh with about 2 minutes remaining, hey, who do you think wins this game? Because I've been wrong the last 2 weeks, and I just don't want to go one way or another. I did not expect the Vikings. I mean, I watch a lot of football like you guys, but I don't spend my time going out of my way to watch Viking football on a regular basis like I do the Chargers. I was amazed. I just couldn't believe what I was watching, to sit there and go, oh, my goodness, man, they're doing what we do, but even worse. I mean, let's get to the topic everyone's going to talk about in this situation. First of all, Staley was coaching for his job, correct? We said going in, you can't go on 3. So we're going to get into J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson's a healthy scratch. And I said to Josh, because Josh and I are both in Oakland right now, just down the street from where the Raiders used to play. And we were saying, you look at the situation, you go, look, it's every man for himself. Whether you're Staley or Jackson or whatever, you got to worry about yourself before you can worry about the team. Nobody wants to hear that, but you aren't part of the team unless you can take care of business. Staley said to Jackson, man, I don't care about your contract or your hurt feelings. You aren't what's best for this team, and you're going to be a healthy scratch. And he was fuming. You could see it, man. He was mad as hell. Like, why did I even get on the plane? How did this happen, and how embarrassing this is? But then let's go into, Staley saving his ass. And then, come on, man. The deal when he goes for it on 4th down from his own 24 made 0 sense. There's nothing you can say to me, anybody can say to me on why that made sense to go that route and then to fall short. It was like you're giving it away. I mean, that's the topic of what were the Chargers thinking, and also how stable is your head coach when he does crazy things like that? And that was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Well, we're always on Brandon Staley about going for it on 4th down. And then he does it at the most inopportune time. Like, no, not right now, man. We're not talking about right now. We're talking about like between the 40s, like Mike Vrabel, that guy over there that beat you last week. Between the 40s, we want you to go for it on 4th down. Not now on the 24. When you're up by 4, I mean, it made no sense whatsoever. The math wasn't mathing at all. I don't know what the hell he was doing. But I'm going to talk about that right now. The J.C. Jackson thing real quick. In retrospect, he should have been on the field because Michael Davis did everything in his power to screw up today's game. He was the worst player on the field, and it wasn't even close for the Chargers. So J.C. Jackson, I'd expect him to be in the lineup next week because he deserves it at this rate. Brandon Staley, craziness. I don't really understand what he was thinking. There's no way you can tell me that there's any type of percentage that's in your favor there. The Chargers ran the ball 11 times for 12 yards with Joshua Kelly. The run was not there. So you can't tell me they had the run all day because it wasn't. And then you go for it at the weirdest time. Jimmy Johnson's on TV saying, "You're an idiot. What are you doing? How are you a head coach?" And it makes you wonder, why are you a head coach? Why do we have a guy here that makes the weirdest decisions?
I didn't like the play call by more on that either. If we're going to do that, do the Eagles situation where you just have 3 guys pretty much running your quarterback and you push forward. Do that. That's the other thing that pisses me off. Don't try to get cute with it. It's 1 yard. Get the 1 yard. If you're going to do it, do it. It was weird. I thought they're just going to go for what I can't stand in the league, the hard count, which I don't think I've ever seen work unless you're Aaron Rodgers. It's still barely, like, it doesn't work. It's the dumbest thing that coaches convince themselves that will happen. That never happens unless you're like a MAC school on a Tuesday night. Congratulations. That works for you. That works at no other level of football. So that's just first let rant. The JC Jackson thing. I'm happy you brought up Michael Davis. He played terrible. I mean, every freaking penalty was on him. Mm-hmm. He could have cost us the game with how bad he played. And you healthy scratched $82.5 million. I just hope you know that's what you did. That's the Charger way, I guess. I was not a fan of it. I was not happy about it, especially when you're playing the best receiver in the league. Let's get the guy on the field that you pay $82.5 million. Let's just get him on the freaking field. You proved you believe in the group of corners. You believe in the group of corners that I have on the field. Why? What in your time have they proved why you should believe in them? You shouldn't believe in them. Like, holy hell, you should never believe in them because they're not good. There's so many numbers that back up why they're not good, and yet you believe them. Like, you're an idiot. Like, read it writing on the room. You're an idiot. That's what it says. So that was just stupid. I hated that part of that move every single time. It frustrated the crap out of me. I threw a chicken tender. I was eating literally on the ground for it. What are you going to do? Still ate it. It was good stuff. So, yeah, back to the 4th down thing, too, though. Like that, I agree with you, Josh. It was frustrating. It wasn't in the right situation at all. It was really ballsy, and everyone was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but I guess when you're coaching for your job, you go back to old habits. Question for you guys. Do you think we'll see this more? Do you think he's going to stick to that, or do you think that was a one-time thing and he goes back in there and Telesco's like, yeah, let's not do that again?
Okay, so this is one of those days where I wish I was covering the team in person, where I would have wanted to be in the coach's room to get a chance to ask questions to Staley to say, all right, when you decided to do a healthy scratch, was this a front office decision or is this just a coaching decision? Because, again, Staley has to go to the owner and say, when I'm going to spend this amount of money on a player I believe in, and this is why he's worth it. And when they got J.C. Jackson, we're all in favor of it because we saw what he did with the previous team. But this is a big one. Like, if Staley made this decision without checking with Telesco first, that's a big one. You don't know if you get, basically J.C. Jackson back. You don't know if J.C. Jackson demands a trade tomorrow. Says, I got to get out of here. This is not where I want to be. I mean, you really kind of ran the table in a whole different direction by putting J.C. Jackson on the bench. A healthy scratch for a guy who makes that money, you don't see that in sports. So that was one. I want to know, is he on the same page or is Staley like, man, it is really hot in here, and I don't care what anybody has to say. I'm going to go into Minnesota. I'm going to get a win with the guys I believe are the best players. And if Telesco has a hard time with it, let him explain why, you're all over the coach for getting a win, doing it his way. The Chargers have issues, right? I mean, they do. On offense, man, we talk about all the weapons. On defense, there are major issues where you go, it's a championship team. When are guys going to step up? Can they step up? The old saying is that players win games, coaches lose games. Well, Staley almost lost the game, in more ways than one. I understand it's a win. As Charger fans, we should be really excited. But you want to say, okay, is this the beginning of something better? I don't know if it's the beginning of something better, or is Minnesota just that dumb? Meaning, if you're Justin Jefferson, and if we were doing a Viking podcast right now, we'd be opening it up going, how in the hell are you not getting Justin Jefferson the ball more? What was the deal with sticking with the run after the first series? Because the Chargers made an adjustment when they realized what your game plan was. For the Vikings to still stay with the run was ridiculous. For them not to go to Justin Jefferson, who nobody can cover, was insane. I mean, if we were doing a Viking podcast or we were fans and we were calling the local radio show, we'd be losing our mind on the way that Kevin O'Connell went after the Chargers. Just like right now, we got the win, but we're still a little bit upset because is there a crazy guy in the room? You know, just looking for a table to put his junk on at any moment because he doesn't care about the team? What's going on?
The Vikings were really confusing to watch. Dave and I watched the game together, and we said, does he realize Alex Madison is not Dalvin Cook? And the Chargers actually did well last week against Derrick Henry. The book is you throw the ball against the Chargers, and it seemed like whenever they threw the ball to Justin Jefferson at the first 3 quarters at least, he caught it, and he caught it for a lot of yards. Same with TJ Hawkinson, and then at the end with Jordan Addison, they're probably going to catch it if you throw it. Why do you keep handing it off to Alex Madison? He was a backup for a reason. You brought in Cam Akers for a reason. He's not that guy, pal. Stop handing it off to Alex Madison. As a Charger fan, I'm happy because you're letting us off the hook because we cannot stop anything. You throw it at Michael Davis, it's a 90% chance it's going to be a penalty or a complete catch. I don't understand what the Vikings were doing. There were positives, though. I mean, we got to talk about some positives here.
Big
I'm
time.
going to talk, defense. We might have found a complete stud in Tuli. I mean, the dude is second, third best defensive player on the team right now. Like, that's how good he's playing. He is all over the field and he's making plays. He's a complete stud. That should be something Charger fans are really hyped about. And Alohi Gilman will knock your head off. As a fan, I love watching that guy play. I can't remember the Chargers having too many guys in my time as a fan watching guys knock guys' heads off. Rodney Harrison was a guy like that. Derwin James is like that. And maybe a few others I'm forgetting. Alohi Gilman will knock your head off, and it's really fun to watch as a fan.
You know, sorry, I'm going to cut you off real quick. You know who that kid is? This is all I'm going to say. He's that kid when you run into someone who says they like playing football. You go, why do you like playing football? I just like to hit people. Mm-hmm. And he kind of freaks you out a little bit, like he's a little weird, you know? Like, yeah. like what? He goes, I just like hitting people. And this allows me to do it legally. He's that guy. He's that guy that just likes to hit people, man. He is physical, and you're glad he's wearing a Charger uniform.
Yeah, it comes downhill quick and like is really, really good at math, but like can't do any other subject. Like, wow, this is kind of crazy. Gilman took out to me right away. He seems like he's the attitude of the defense. Like he's the chip on the shoulder. Mm-hmm. He's the one that if it gets a little scuffy, he's kind of like the first one in there. He's the one that probably chirps a little bit after the play. Like that's the kind of feeling you kind of get when you watch him play football, which I think is exactly what the Chargers need, right? Like they need an attitude on the defensive side. Tuli played amazing today. I counted 4 pressures that he had, and then plus he had a sack today with Bosa. He was unbelievable. And he's lived up to – actually not even lived up. He's gone above like even the hype that I guess we had for him going into the year. I'm super pumped to see what he does throughout the year. I would go as far as saying, agree with you, Josh, he is our best defensive player right now. Bosa did have a great comeback game. That's 2 weekends in a row where he's really showed up to play. Shuts us up pretty good, gets a crap on us if he wants to. I really hope I like to picture that Bosa has like a bulletin board of just our faces or just Dave's face. And he just like, every time he walks in his house, just an extra blade in there. He's just like, I got him today. That'd be fun. Hopefully he is. Let us know, Joey Bosa. But yeah, that was something that I like loved was the Tuli, the Bosa pressure. That was huge. Also, I think this is just flat out sexy. Herbert going 40 of 47 and 405 yards and 3 touchdowns. And you mentioned it earlier, Josh. How about more just going, I almost got screw the run. Screw the run. Let's just go. Did you guys just fall in love with that? Like that was beautiful. Loved it.
Great.
I can't believe you guys didn't say Kenneth Murray Jr. I mean, here's the deal, man, is to me, there are 2 guys that had just exceptional games. Like people are talking about. Murray has been ridiculous the last 2 weeks. Like I literally think he's taking quotes from the show and putting them in his locker and going, oh yeah, I played at Oklahoma. Why would they draft me? Oh yeah, I don't belong in the field. Oh yeah, when are you going to cut ties? I mean, we ripped the hell out of that guy because he's been garbage for years. The last 2 weeks he has been outstanding, and today was outstanding. He was so good, and one of those where I'm not even mad to the point of where was that the last few years. I'm just glad he's doing it now. I'm completely willing to overlook everything that's happened since they drafted him. If he can play like he did today and last week, man, he's our guy. In which I never thought in a million years I would say. The other guy, of course, is Keenan Allen, guys, on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, everybody in the NFL is talking about it, and they should. Keenan Allen was absolutely outstanding. I mean, Mike Williams was having a good game too, but it was nothing compared to what Keenan Allen was doing, which was incredible with 18 receptions, 215 yards, threw a touchdown pass. I mean, how cool was that? That was one of those things in Kellen Moore's offense where I'm like, that's why this guy's here.
That's why he's here. Exactly. Best way to put it. That's why he's here, to make things difficult on the defense. You never expect Keenan Allen to throw a pass to Mike Williams, but he did it, and it worked, and it was cool. It was fun to watch. Keenan Allen, Mario said it last week, when things get tough, and it's been a trend as long as Keenan Allen's been there, you go to Keenan Allen. If it's third down, you need a first down, you go to Keenan Allen. If you're down, you go to Keenan Allen. If you really need somebody to make a play, you go to Keenan Allen. And the Chargers were in a must-win game today, and they went to Keenan Allen 20 times, and he had 18 catches. I mean, that seems fake. 20 targets with 18 catches in the NFL. That doesn't happen. I love watching Keenan Allen play. We all do. But Kenneth Murray, holy crap. You said it. He's playing at a Pro Bowl level the last 2 weeks. He always has been fast. But his thing was he'll overrun the play and he'll arm tackle and he won't make the play. And then the last 2 weeks, he has been extremely violent. He has been a playmaker, and then he wins the game today with the interception. I don't know why Kirk Cousins threw the ball there, but he wins the game with the interception, and it has been great to watch. He was the best defensive player on the field today, and Derwin James hopefully is not badly injured.
And he did this with no Eric Kendricks, right? Like Eric Kendricks has been out. That's kind of like the leader of the defense. That's our middle linebacker. Kind of hurts. Kenneth Murray's really stepped up, and you can imagine Kendricks really wanted to play facing his old team. I bet he would have had himself a day facing them, against them. But Kenneth Murray played great, 8 tackles, 1 interception, flew around the field, came in a big moment. It's all you need from him. That's what we wanted from him, right, for like a very, very long time. The other guy, too, guys, that I'm just loving the energy he's playing with, and he did this last week. I forgot to mention it when we were doing the pod right after the show just from anger. I'll mention it later on. Every time Everett catches the ball, he's a truck. And he didn't run like that last year. Like I think last year he didn't run with that attitude that he has this year. And this year it's like he's just a bull in a china shop every time he catches the ball. It's just there's such a tenacity that he has with it that I think he didn't have last year that has been exceptional for the Chargers, and something that happened in this game that I really, really loved. I also loved Herbert bouncing back. Did you guys notice that? It felt like he took a punch, ate it, and then delivered one back. He wasn't, Conor McGregor who takes a punch and dies. He ate it and then he swung back. And I don't know about you guys, but I think that was my favorite part of this whole thing. I actually, for the first time this year, I felt really comfortable watching Herbert play. Good. Whatever they do offensively, I know that we can come back and do the same, except when we're on our own 20 and it's 4th and 1, we decide to go for it late in the game.
2 things that just comment on what you said, Mario. Gerald Everett, as far as embracing the physical part of the game, I like it. Like I always like when a guy who plays tight end, gets hit and the whistle has to blow and he's still on his feet. Or he just go, you can hit him like 3 or 4 times and we're just forward progress to stop. But guess what? He's still standing. I don't know why I like that, but when guys, say you can't get the best of me and they don't blow the whistle because you gave me your best shot, I'm still standing. I'm just going to give the ball back to the referee right now. I like that about Everett. He's playing tough. As far as Justin Herbert, he did something today that we talked about during the week. He ran a little bit, right? He moved when he needed to move. He good reads, good throws. It was a fantastic game for Justin Herbert. Overall, offensively, there wasn't a lot of stuff to be upset with the Chargers. Of course, the running game isn't what we wanted it to be, but at the same time, it wasn't our number one guy. There's no Austin Eckler. And not to take a shot at Austin Eckler because I don't know the extent of his injury, but guess what, Austin? They got it done without you. You keep missing games, and when the team wins, guess what? You get forgotten pretty quick. And I don't know what the hell's going on. It just seems like, hey, that's 2 weeks now that you haven't been able to play when it seems like in the past. These are games that you seem to bounce back with, and NFL guys seem to bounce back with. So am I calling you out? I don't know what the hell is going on. It just seems very, very strange. But what you said on Herbert, Mario, 40 of 47, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating of 123.8. I mean, what a day. What a day for Justin Herbert.
He's crazy, man. I mean, I love Phillip Rivers, my favorite player of all time. Phillip Rivers didn't look as cool as Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert just looks so freaking cool throwing the ball. No interceptions, knock on wood, so far this season. Chargers have their first turnover with Josh Palmer. Here, Josh, you can have a catch. Oh, wait, you fumbled. You can't ever get the ball again. He looked pretty good besides the fumble too, but I really like what you said about Gerald Everett. That's something Dave and I talked about. Gerald Everett was brought in as a backup tight end with the Rams behind Tyler Higbee. He was a backup tight end. Nobody really expected Gerald Everett to be that guy, and he has proven he can be a really productive tight end for you. He's going to make catches. He has good hands. And Donald Parham has 2 catches for 2 touchdowns today. I think both of his targets ended up being touchdowns. They said it during the broadcast. Basically, every time he touches the ball, it's a touchdown. I think he's 6'8". Let's use that guy. I like that they used him as part of the game plan. Trey McKitty makes me laugh because he gets on the field for about 2 plays a game, and one of them is always going to be a hold. So that's our 3rd, 4th tight end. It's always funny to watch. Stone Smart had a good catch. I like our tight end room. I'm really happy about the tight end room. I think we take for granted Justin Herbert, Mario. We talk about how great he is, but then he does what he did today, and we talk about Keenan Allen and Kenneth Murray. Imagine if you were a fan of another team that didn't have a top quarterback. You'd be like, I think God is our quarterback. That's how good he looks out there. You'd be amazed that he's on your team. I think everybody takes for granted great quarterbacks, and Justin Herbert's no different. The one thing that I would like him to do more that he did at the beginning of the game one time was use his legs. Patrick Mahomes, that's the one thing that he does. His pocket awareness is ridiculous. You could really never figure out how to get him down. He's always throwing the ball this way and that way. He looks like a point guard out there. If Justin Herbert can incorporate his legs a little bit like he did today, he'll be even more unstoppable.
Josh, did you catch the 2 of the broadcasters? He can run. that's my favorite. It's my favorite line of all time. They used to do that with Cutler all the time too. Yeah, he is an athlete. Well, I hope so. He's playing professional sports. So I hope he's an athlete. Herbert. It was a flawless game. Like when you only have 7 incompletions on 47 attempts for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, that's flawless. And it's one of those things. You have a long time between end of February all the way into August, right? Where you give out your football predictions, you give out what you want. And Herbert got a little MVP talk, and then it really died down this first 2 weeks. It will kick back up now. You look at the stats of this game, you watch a film of this game. This is one of those games you're like, okay, it kicks up right now. It kicks back up of he's this level of a QB that every team begs for, every team wants, every team hopes that they have, and that QB that they draft in the first round, second round, third round, etc., that they have in their building. And that's what Herbert was today, and that's who he is, and he should be going forward. Very, very exciting. I love the run for the first down. That was just like I almost called you guys. I was going to FaceTime, but then I didn't have a shirt on yet. I was still in my underwear. I just showered. And I was like, that could be a really weird FaceTime. So it's, for the visuals at home, people enjoy that one. So, but no, it was one of my favorite things. We got positive. Can I say one thing that worried me?
Okay.
I think this definitely had to worry you guys. 12 penalties. That's bad, right? Like how bad is that? Four on 3rd down. That led to a first down.
It was an unusual number of defensive penalties, is what I would say. It was heartbreaking. The Chargers did it last week with some weird 3rd down penalties. I want to ask you, Mario, because you brought it up, the Derwin James penalty when he hits with his helmet. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's got a penalty on 3rd down that really came to bite them. And then the Chargers take the ball out. They say forward progress. That made no sense whatsoever. Completely hosed. But what do you think about the Derwin James penalty? Do you think it was a penalty, and do you think the fumble was a real fumble?
I thought that fumble was a real fumble. I didn't really understand that. The forward progress thing is always so weird to me. It's like something I think I understand, but then I don't understand. It's like that weird game. It's like the one game I play with the cap. It's like I think I understand the cap now, and then I'm like, I don't understand the cap anymore. I have no idea what's going on. You just signed someone, and they said you're like $20 million in debt. So yeah, I never will understand it. The Derwin James thing, I think being a safety and understanding that rule is the hardest, right? Because you're taught as a safety, you come in and you got to smack. Like that's what you have to do, and the best do it. And it's really hard when you're going full speed and then, they're falling, they're crouched. It's hard to read it. Like already when you're going for a tackle, you're crouched, you're low, your head's up, and you're going in. When that defender gets crouched too as well, it's hard. Like you can't adjust in a split second and then hit. You can't just stop right there and then hug them like it's a pillow and then just slowly roll down. That's just not how it works. And it's just it's a frustrating thing. It's like, no, I know it's player safety, but Dave, I know it pisses you off. You're probably like, dude, back in my day, you got stabbed, and that's how you went.
No, I was football. No, as a football fan, man, I understand. I love all the hard hits and all the stories about guys getting hit or crying on the field or not knowing where they are and asking for their mamas. I loved all that stuff. But then when you see how these guys end up and that these guys die,
someone's a bully.
I do. I liked all that stuff. But and you see what's best for the game. I mean, the whole game is tackle. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting older, man. But I'm sitting there, I'm watching football this weekend. I think it was Saturday, and I'm like, something clicked in my head when I went, man, this is a crazy game. I mean, just grown men running around full speed, knocking the hell out of each other. Like you could have put this sport together so many different ways, but no, we're just going to beat the crap out of each other and knock each other to the ground as hard as we can. But we're in for it. As I said, it's like the old Roman Coliseum where we're just fans that line up in the seats to watch people go to the death with the guy thumbs up, thumbs down. You decide. And so I like the physical stuff. You're right, Mark. I do, but man, I don't want to see old guys or guys I used to love who can't walk, who are in wheelchairs, or guys who die early and all that stuff for my entertainment. So I'm all for the safety part of it now. And to be honest, I get irritated when people are older than me complain. These guys are soft. There's a reason why you got to keep quarterbacks healthy. Here's one thing, which I think it was Mara. You brought up the whole thing at the beginning, right? How many penalties the Chargers had. These referees know. They know. Like the Raiders are a dumb team. The Raiders have always been a dumb organization, always with a ton of penalties. They lead the league in penalties every single year. The team that doesn't is Bill Belichick's Patriots, right? The Raiders always get a ton of penalty yards, and they haven't played very good football for the last 20 years. And then you look at the Chargers. I don't know if the Chargers have a reputation of being a smart team or a dumb team, but when you're on the road, the home team is going to get the benefit of the doubt. These referees can say, man, I'm impartial, but when you have 75,000 fans screaming skull at you, that flag is going to come out against the team that's visiting the Minnesota Vikings. And until you get the reputation of having a really smart coach and a quarterback that has a reputation of a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, I just think it's the way things go against the Chargers that almost is even out of their hands, that if something's a little bit on the line, they're going to get flagged for it. That's just where the Chargers are right now.
Yeah, I think Mario brought up a good point with the penalties, with the guy lowering his body and then hitting with your head. These penalties aren't black and white. I think the rule says they're black and white when they're not. They should be situational. If a guy lowers his body, you have to see if the guy could actually adjust, because like Mario said, it's a quick second. Things don't happen that fast. To me, the forward progress with the fumble is also not black and white. It's like the check swing in baseball. There's no real answer to what it really is. And it bothers me as a fan because that is 100% of fumble, and it could have completely changed the game. If you look at the box score and you look at the team stats, you think the Chargers probably should have lost. The Vikings had 5 more first downs. They had 7 first downs via penalties. The Chargers had 0. They had as many yards as the Chargers. They basically beat the Chargers in almost every category. They had 4 sacks. The Chargers had 1. I don't know. I think the Chargers definitely did enough to win the game, but you also have to question if they did enough to lose the game too, because that is part of it. The Chargers kind of deserve to win and kind of deserve to lose. You can be really happy that you got to win because you should be, but you also have to question if this is a team that continues to do the same things with penalties, continues to make boneheaded decisions with their coach, and can you win in the playoffs with those two things?
Well, I think it's a combination too of, we talked about this on the pod right before the game, but like the Vikings were a highly turnover team and they had a fumbling problem. And that first drive, they're going right through the Chargers defense. I mean, they're just marching through. Then they turn the ball over. Momentum changes. Then we go down and score first. Now, a touchdown in the first quarter, I'm not going to tell you is going to completely change the game, but that momentum is huge. Vikings score in that game, Chargers go down. Chargers aren't the best at being down and overcoming. They usually don't do that. They usually just stay low. So that's like a big change of it. Then you have the Cousins interception by Murray. Like there's little things that the Vikings did that just shot themselves in the foot that we knew was coming at, that I think the Chargers took advantage of, where I think the Vikings didn't take advantage of the chances that the Chargers gave them. Like late in the game, obviously the 4th and 1, we don't get it. They didn't take advantage of that situation, right? They didn't take advantage of all the situations of when we gave them 4 extra chances on 3rd downs. Like they didn't take advantage of those, right? So I think I agree. Like if you look at the stats and you look at the box score, you're like, the Vikings should have won this game. And then you look at the interceptions and you look at the turnovers, and you're like, that's how they lost this game. The Chargers took advantage of their mistakes, and the Vikings did not take advantage of the Chargers' mistakes. But either or, Kirk Cousins going to Kirk Cousins it, baby. And we're 1-2. I almost said 2-1. We're 1-2.
1-2. 1-2, and next week they take on the Raiders. Okay, they take on a Raider team as we're doing the show right now. Sunday Night Football is going on, so we know the final scores of all the games and Sundays as we go on earlier. But right now we're waiting for the Raiders. I do want to talk about the division a little bit, and because I started Thursday's show with saying, guys, I got a positive, and the positive is they're only one game back, meaning the Chargers. And right now, with the win, they're still only one game back. Chiefs had no problems with the Chicago Bears today, and so they're in a good situation. They're finally going to play a team inside the division, on next Sunday, and we'll talk about it more on Tuesday's show. But things aren't terrible for the Chargers right now. I mean, right now there's probably some question marks inside that locker room, and we touched on it right at the very beginning with J.C. Jackson and what his future is, and what are you going to do with some of the other guys on the team, and when's Austin Eckler coming back and all that stuff. But inside the division, they aren't doing bad right now. The team that is struggling, and I want to bring it up on today's show, not wait till Tuesday, because it is the number one story in the NFL. I know when you turn your TV on tomorrow, it's going to be that Arizona knocked off Dallas. That's not the number one story. The number one story is what happened to Miami today, that the Miami Dolphins scored 70 points, and that the Denver Broncos inside our division are now 0-3, that this was a game that was sent a message to Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. And as a football fan, I mean, I absolutely loved it. Unless you love the Denver Broncos, you had to love what you saw. And there's 31 teams in the NFL that loved what they saw when Miami stuck it to Sean Payton and the Broncos today, because they were doing it, I think, honestly, my feeling for every team in the league and every coaching staff in the league, for him crossing the line by breaking the code of conduct and the fraternity like he did this summer with Nathaniel Hackett. That was one of those payback games where you're going to feel it. And Sean Payton kind of hinted around like, I've got my ass kicked before, but there was a message in this one. I know it.
I think there was a message sent. I want to correct myself. The Chargers had 4 sacks and the Vikings had 1. Sean Payton popped off before the season even started, which was very confusing to me because he had 1 Super Bowl under his belt and he talked like he was, Bill Belichick. Hold on, buddy. Do you understand what you're inheriting here? You're inheriting a dumpster fire. So why are you talking so much like you're going to turn this thing around and the coach before you was the problem? I completely agree with Dave. It was a message sent. Xavier Howard said after the game that that Sean Payton disrespected Russell Wilson by keeping him down by 50 points. That's one of those things that is the players' fraternity, like Dave said, there's a coaches' fraternity. And if you disrespect one of your players as a coach, that's how you lose respect from your locker room. And I thought that was very strange. I'm not going to say it's the Urban Meyer situation with the Jaguars, but it's getting there a little bit where there's little things that are happening little by little each week where it's turning into a complete mess. And as a Charger fan, I love it. I hate the Broncos, I hate the Raiders, and I hate the Chiefs. And if any of those teams struggle, I smile.
It's such good karma because it felt like Sean Payton was so overconfident last year. Like he wasn't interviewing for any job. He was interviewing them to take the job. Yeah, you mentioned it in press conferences. He was acting like he had 4 Super Bowls. He had 1. Like he's been to multiple Super Bowls. You've been to 1. And it was just like this, like he felt he was on top of the world because he was a coach that didn't have a job, that you were doing media and people wanted you. Then now he has it and he's just getting shellacked. 726 total yards, 376 passing yards. Tua had 3 incompletions on 26 attempts for 309 yards. They got demolished. They got embarrassed. They said Happy Father's Day after the game to everyone on the Dolphins. That's literally what they said. It was a brutal game. I don't know what your message is to your team after this, because like you said, there's just so many stories just lingering around this. The game of ugly, the game of, I can't even call it mid because it's not mid. It's the game of crap. It's going to be Broncos Bears next week and that brutal showdown. It's great to see. It's something that we don't have to worry about in our division. And also it makes me feel a lot better where the Chargers are at because this Dolphins team, they're a wagon. They're an absolute wagon. And as of now, talking about, September 24th, they're probably the best team in the AFC. And I don't think it's really up for debate at the moment.
Most exciting team. I mean, they are.
Yes.
They're the most exciting team. We touched on that this summer also, just saying how fast they are at every position. I mean, so if you're Sean Payton, do you look yourself in the mirror and say, man, I got a lot to fix, or do you say this is all the general manager? This is everyone who put this roster together for me that didn't know what they're doing, and I'm not winning because it's the roster and not because of the coaching. Because as you said, it was one, Mario, right? I mean, it's the same reason Aaron Rodgers isn't put in the same category as Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, because it was one. And, I understand he won one Super Bowl. But you know what Sean Payton reminds me of, and I'm not backing off of, as when the Chargers I thought needed a coach, that Sean Payton would have been a great fit here. I didn't know he was going to go all crazy and his ego got out of control. Reminds me a lot of Brian Billick, when Brian Billick was the coach of the Ravens. And then all of a sudden the Ravens had the dominating team that wins the Super Bowl against the Giants. And he's the genius. And he tells everybody he's the genius nonstop. And he just wore the room out to the point nobody wanted to be around him anymore. Josh brought up the Urban Meyer thing. It ended really quickly. And people aren't knocking down his door for another job. It would be very interesting if Sean Payton falls in the same category of what, instead of saying, what can I do to be better? And not go, it's the guys that put this roster together, and this is why they stink. Because Josh used to bring up the point that people saying that he disrespected Russell Wilson, who is a Hall of Famer, by leaving him the game down by 50. I think he made it clear that Russell Wilson is not his quarterback, and he would let everybody in the world know today, Russell Wilson's not my quarterback. I can't win with this guy.
Caleb Williams sweepstakes. You think it's that bad? You think Broncos
I don't.
are going for Caleb Williams?
I don't think. No, I don't think they're doing that at all, because I think it would kill Sean Payton to be that way because his ego's too big. But my point is, they have a lot of money invested, right? Mario, you brought up the salary cap deal. Look, none of us know how the salary cap works. It seems like whenever somebody needs a player, all of a sudden they get that player. How the hell is that possible? How did this just work out the math? But I'm not so sure he wasn't embarrassing Russell Wilson, and that he isn't running from the fact that I'm not the guy that signed him. I'm not the one that recommended you sign him. And I'm going to embarrass the front office. Well, it doesn't work, man. It doesn't work. It goes owner, GM, head coach. And now I think Sean Payton's playing the wrong cards.
Hold on. He chose the Broncos. He knew what he was getting into. He chose the Broncos. So don't.
Well, was that or the Panthers, right? Was that or the Panthers? Wasn't that the move?
He didn't have to go. Who held his feet to the fire and said, you have to coach this year, Sean? Nobody said that.
He's the one that chose the Broncos to get fired. You're right.
He could have 100%. And he chose the Broncos. So don't pull that. I also think it's a lack of talent, to be frank with you. I was watching them play and they quit. And I think that's a coaching thing if your team quits, but also a talent thing. I mean, they look really, really bad. And Dave and I were talking also about the Chargers defense. Like Brandon Staley, I don't think is doing a good job at all, but there's also like a lack of talent at some positions where you're like, what do you want the guy to do here? And I think the Broncos just suck, frankly. They were missing both their safeties. I don't think it would have made a difference if they would have played. I don't know what to say about Sean Payton. I think he is going to go against the GM. These are your players. I need my players. Give me some time here. But they quit on him, and I think that speaks volumes as a coach. If your team quits on you and doesn't even try.
It seems like they kind of have the stank from last year still on them. Like they didn't get it all out.
How about the last 6 years? How about the last 6 years?
After Manning?
Yeah, it's been a long time. There's a lineman today, and I can't remember his name, but
Garrett Bowles.
Garrett Bowles made the comment. I've been here my entire career, and all we do is lose. Man, that's pretty big, man. You have veterans saying that all we do in this organization is lose.
Talk to Eddie Jackson. 35 points, too, last week to Washington Commanders, who people were high on. Howell didn't look too good today. Sacked 9 times, 4 picks against the Buffalo Bills. So it didn't look too good. So that even looks worse for the Broncos, looking at everything now. So would you guys look at this now and go, like, are you scratching off Broncos as a worry? Like, are you scratched off? And are you more worried about the Chiefs after their win today? Or are you guys on the boat of the Bears are just that freaking bad?
Go ahead, Josh.
That's a really good question. I think the Bears are the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos are top bottom 5 team. I'm not gonna write them off because Dave said Russell Wilson's a Hall of Famer and Sean Payton is historically a good coach. I can't write off a team like that. Chiefs are right there with the Dolphins as the best team in the AFC. I think those are the clear 2 best teams right now. The Bills look pretty good too, but those teams look great. I think the Chiefs are definitely the Chargers' concern, but I wouldn't write off any teams. I don't think the Chargers have the confidence or ability to write off anybody. I mean, the Chargers should look at every team as a opponent to respect. I don't think you should write off anybody if you're the Chargers, but the Chiefs are definitely the concern. The Broncos and the Raiders to me are in the same boat. They're not there yet. They're a few years away from being competitive, and I think the Chargers need to worry about themselves first and then the Chiefs.
Looking at where everybody is, it's funny. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, right? I mean, you got Kelsey back finally, healthy, ready to go. The Chiefs are playing well. They got Chris Jones back. Right now, the best teams, I think, in the NFL, I think you could say in the AFC are the Dolphins, are the Chiefs. And in the NFC, it looks like it's the 49ers and the Eagles. I mean, we're only a few weeks in, but the thing about the Dolphins, like, I have no idea about how to coach or how you go about what you do with the Dolphins, because the Dolphins seem like that snowball that's just getting bigger and faster. And what are you going to do when it comes to your front door? But because right now that Miami Dolphin team is so fast and so explosive, I don't know how you slow them down. And one of their best and fastest players hasn't even played yet. And I haven't mentioned Jalen Ramsey hasn't played yet. Right? I mean, that team has so much talent. You're going, have they changed the way that you acquire NFL players when you scout and you draft? To go, we're looking for track stars at every position, because the Miami Dolphins made Denver look like, basically a Mountain West team playing an SEC team. It was crazy.
Yeah, people might not know this, but Jalen Waddle did not play today, and they put up 70 points. Jalen Waddle is one of the better receivers in the league. He did not play today. I heard something interesting from Mike McDaniel. He was on the same staff with the Washington Redskins, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, LaFleur, and him. And those were all passing guys. They really wanted to impress Mike Shanahan, who was the head coach at the time, by their passing plays, what they can do creatively in the passing game. So McDaniel said, I'm going to be a run guy. Everybody wants to be passed. I'm going to be a run guy and be creative in the run game. People don't understand that watch the Dolphins. They look great throwing the ball. McDaniel is a wizard with the run. If you watch Raheem Mostert, and I can't even pronounce the guy's last name, Devin starts with an A. I don't want to butcher his last name. He had over 200 yards. Their run schemes, number 28. Their run schemes are so difficult to adjust to and game plan for. I don't know if you game plan for the run or the pass more with them, because they are dangerous both ways. Taron Armstead, their tackles back. That's a team nobody wants to face. I don't know how you stack up against the Dolphins if you're anybody.
They certainly look unbeatable. They got a huge test next week as they travel to Buffalo and face Josh Allen and the Bills, who kind of look like they put it back together after having a really bad week 1 performance against the Jets. It certainly look like they've turned the corner on that one. They go Giants after that, then Panthers. So if they can survive the Bills and they beat the Bills, they could easily, they should be 6-0 heading into Philly, which would be a huge test for them, obviously, in that matchup. By far the best team. I think the Chiefs today, because I was watching the game and I was like I said, I think the Bears they're going to go number 1. I literally think they're going to have the first pick and the second pick in the draft because they have the Panthers pick. It's crazy. And they're still probably going to suck. And there probably more bad stuff's going to come out, and we'll see what happens with that. The interesting thing, too, I think about the Chiefs is, that's a lot of energy game. You had Matt Nagy, who still blows as a play caller, sucks. And if anyone hires him as a head coach, you're an idiot. It's like Staley, but worse. And you had, Mahomes does the counting of all the guys they, took before Mahomes and does all that bull crap. So there's a lot of energy going into that game where I think the Chiefs go overlooked. I still think there's a lot of weaknesses in the Chiefs team. I don't think their receiving core is anything. I think it's all Kelsey, and obviously you take away Kelsey, win the game. It's, easier said than done. But I think by far this Dolphins is the strongest team. I think there's weaknesses in the Chiefs. And I think the Chargers. By the way, you know what also didn't help us? This is what I wanted to bring up. I think the Lord just remember this. Browns having a big day and beating the Titans really hurts us, doesn't it?
Yeah. That was hard.
Yeah. Thanks, Cleveland. City.
I will say this. We said it before the first game of the season that the Chargers and the Dolphins are the two most exciting teams to watch. I still stand by that. I think the Chargers and the Dolphins are the two most exciting teams. Niners. And Niners are very exciting too. But I'm talking as far as Brock Purdy's a very serviceable and a good quarterback. But for me, when I look at right now, when you look at Tua and you look at Herbert, and I know they're always going to be compared to each other, the offense that Tua is in right now is perfect for him. Like if you put Tua in a different team's offense, maybe he's out of his comfort zone. But the passing plays and the passes that he's asked to make are exactly what he did when he was at Alabama. And so he looks so accurate out there, and he looks so comfortable out there. that the Miami Dolphins are a lot of fun to watch. At the same time, if I was not a Charger fan, I would go out of my way to watch all these Charger games. That Charger offense, especially when Austin Eckler is able to play, is extremely exciting and extremely dangerous to watch. And how do you stop these guys? So I'm not going anything against the Chargers. I just think right now those two teams are, for me, the most fun to watch, most entertaining teams.
They are the most fun to watch. They really are the most fun teams to watch. Austin Eckler needs to come back, by the way. Joshua Kelly,
Yes.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate your hard work. Bench is that way. And Austin Eckler, please come back on the field because the running game is not there, and he makes the Chargers even more exciting. I don't think the Chargers have a chance against a team like the Chiefs if you can't run the ball. Maybe you can beat, some of these other opponents like the Broncos and the Raiders. But you have the Cowboys coming up soon, and they lost to the Cardinals, which is awesome to see because they looked unbeatable the first 2 weeks. But we need Austin Eckler back. I think that's one guy that everybody should be hoping comes back soon.
There's a report today, I believe Rappaport said it, that they kind of expect him to be back this week against the Raiders before we hit bye week right after that. Still sucks I hit the bye week that early. I'm with you, though, Josh. Like, I think, boy, do they need him. Like, they need him bad. If Eckler plays in this game, what's the point swing, you think? Like, do you think it makes that big of a difference? Obviously it does, but how big?
What do you think, Dave?
Well, a couple things is as we're doing the show now, and I might be the only one with an access to television. I don't know how severe the injury is, but as the last play of the first half of the Sunday night game, Garoppolo just went down. So all of a sudden the Raiders might be without their starting quarterback, and their Chargers might get Eckler back. So that changes things a lot for both teams. All of a sudden there is a big swing. Now, again, by the time we do the show on Tuesday, Garoppolo's fine and Eckler still can't play. So who knows? But I'm just saying if those two things happen, it's a huge swing for the Chargers' advantage.
Mario, to answer your question, I think today's game would have been I would like to say it wouldn't have been close, but the Chargers game is going to be close at the end, so I don't think I could say that confidently. But we would have been able to run the ball a lot better than we did today and at least dump it down to Austin Eckler because you have to worry about him catching the ball in the flat. With Joshua Kelly, there's no real threat. I think that just makes it so much more difficult on the opposing team.
Yeah. Exactly right.
We would have beat the Titans, definitely. I think he plays.
For sure.
That's going to be the game you're going to look back on, and you're going to be really upset. That's the game. Yeah. On the schedule, you're going to look back on as every team has them, right? Games that you lost that you go, how the hell did that happen? Cowboys will do it today with Arizona. But for the Chargers, it's going to be that Titan game, especially when you saw what the Browns did to the Titans. And the Browns made the Titans look exactly the way we all thought they were. Just not a very good team. But yet, at the same time, the Chargers couldn't take advantage of what Tennessee does. When we come back on Tuesday, guys, there's going to be a lot of questions that we're going to answer as far as I think the biggest one is going to be Mike Williams, right? What's the situation with Mike Williams? What's the situation with Eckler? Of course, is important. But this team now has proven they can win games without Austin Eckler, and they can move the ball without Austin Eckler. But we mentioned it on Tuesday, and wasn't trying to jinx anybody, but it's at some point, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, they're going to go down. And you're going to need Quentin Johnson to step up. And so you're waiting for that to happen. Big thing is keep your fingers crossed for Mike Williams that he's able to go and it's not as bad as everything looked, and we get good news by Tuesday and have an idea of what the Chargers are going to look like heading into the game against the Raiders on Sunday.
Yeah, Mike Williams, we didn't even talk about it. That looked, Mike, you said it, and I hate that you said that, but we're all thinking it as fans. Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, Mike Williams maybe and Keenan Allen are both going to get hurt, or one of them is going to get hurt. It's just going to happen. Like we know this is going to happen. Hopefully it's not serious. Quentin Johnson was more involved today, which was nice, but he's going to have to step up eventually because one of these guys are going to go down if it's not already Mike Williams for multiple weeks.
Yeah, he's going to have to step up at one point. Might as well step up against the Raiders. Not a strong secondary before he faced the Cowboys, who without Diggs, and secondary did not look that great today. So, hey.
True. Good
positives.
Point. Yeah. One more thing. And the people that told me last week that Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback, suck it. Yeah, suck it. And then shut up. Suck it and then shut up. Because you saw what it was today. The real Ryan Tannehill stood up. So get out of there. I mean, seriously. And then Kirk Cousins, defenders. How do you guys lose the game today? Kirk Cousins at the end. We knew that was going to happen. Suck it. Thanks.
Yeah. Seen it before. We'll be back in a couple days again. Thank you so much for watching and paying attention to what we do with this show on the Bolt City Podcast. The people on YouTube, you guys have been absolutely outstanding. Appreciate the comments. And, of course, what do you say, Mario, all the time? Leave a comment.
Subscribe. Or your mom doesn't love you.
That's
Exactly.
true. That's actually
Yeah.
true.
It is
All
true.
right. So for Mario Aaron, Josh Pele, I'm Dave Pele. We'll see you next time.